reasons that I'm now going to relate to you about investing in women. But to begin, I'd like to start with some acknowledgements, please. Susan Clear, the Director, Social Impact Investing, Macquarie Group Foundation, Asia. Dr. Julia Newton-Howes, the Chief Executive Officer of Investing in Women. Eric Yaptanko, Division Director, Manila Technology and Office Head, Macquarie Group. Representatives of the Foundation for a Sustainable Society Incorporated and Invest Ventures. Representatives of women's small and medium enterprises from around the Philippines. Distinguished guests, representatives from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Magandang umaga. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning to celebrate the success, and it really is the success, of the Macquarie Investing in Women Rise Fund. And to all of you who are watching online, thanks very much for tuning in with us this morning. I'm really honoured to be here today in the company of so many amazing women. Indeed, our gathering comes at an opportune time as we lead into Women's Month in the Philippines. 2 years into the pandemic, we have a much clearer picture of how COVID-19 has impacted on women's economic status. During the peak of the lockdowns in April 2020, the Philippines registered a record high 17.7% unemployment rate, with women being overrepresented in job losses. And last month, the World Bank released a DFAT-funded report revealing that almost half of the unemployed Filipino women during the pandemic were kept out of the labour force due to housekeeping obligations, compared to only 4% of men. These caring obligations included cleaning and maintaining the household, preparing meals, looking after children, as well as taking care of sick and elderly relatives. While the Philippines has made substantial progress in economic development, more than half of working-age women remain out of the labour force. And this situation has persisted over the past 3 decades, and it's been exacerbated by the pandemic. Now, in the Philippines, the World Bank estimates that an increase of a mere 0.5% a year of women in the labour force would increase GDP per capita by almost 10% by 2050. Now, that is truly remarkable. And what it shows is that investing in women can pay big dividends. So as the economy recovers, one of our greatest challenges remains: how do we support women to join or return to the labour force? Now, more than a year ago, you'll remember that we launched the Macquarie Rise Fund to catalyse much needed investments into women's small to medium enterprises, SMEs, as a crucial component to effective economic response and recovery from the pandemic. Now, this investment sought to improve women's access to, control over and ownership of productive assets which are vital for women's economic empowerment. And I'm really pleased to report that the partnership with the Macquarie Group Foundation and our 2 investing partners, Invest and the Foundation for Sustainable Society, thank you, resulted in investments in 13 women's SMEs. And that is really tremendous. And they are across urban and rural markets in the Philippines. And this has created a broader multiplier effect in the Philippine economy. With 68 million, 1.8 million Australian dollars of investment from the Rise Fund, our investing partners leveraged 127 million pesos, and that's 3.4 million Australian dollars of private sector investments for women's SMEs. This led to a cumulative capital of 195 million pesos, that's 5.2 million Australian dollars. I love the stats, you've got to have stats, right? Deployed for business expansion of SMEs across the Philippines. Now, in turn, these 13 women-led SMEs created 1,068 quality jobs. And 5 of these SMEs worked with over 13,000 farmers, providing market access and stable incomes. Another SME is leveraging technology to make education more accessible by providing finance to 881 students in the first half of 2021. Now, these women's entrepreneurs operate in industries that are traditionally male-dominated, such as agriculture, tech and infrastructure, as well as fish and poultry trading. So this outstanding performance proves that women's leadership should become the norm, not the exception, in a post-COVID world. Now, there are many more inspiring stories, and I would urge you to engage with the women leaders who have joined us today to learn about them and to learn more. And I would really like to acknowledge the efforts of Invest and the Foundation for a Sustainable Society Incorporated in forging partnerships with these high-impact SMEs and mobilising private sector capital. None of these outcomes would have been possible without leadership and philanthropic support from the Macquarie Group Foundation, and that's just been outstanding. They were the first ones to step up, and I always will remember that. Apart from the direct impact from these investments, this success creates a really important demonstration effect. It shows just how much we can achieve through strategic collaboration and a small amount of capital. It doesn't take much to achieve big outcomes. And we hope that the Macquarie Investing in Women Rise Fund inspires more investors to join us and to invest in women in the Philippines. Now, no doubt, the road to economic recovery will be long, uneven, uncertain, and prone to many setbacks. But we will emerge stronger, hardened by our collective capacity to shape a more inclusive future. So, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, let me reaffirm that advancing gender equality is front and centre of Australia's work here in the Philippines. And I pay tribute to all the women entrepreneurs who continue to drive the country's economic recovery. Mabuhay kayo, magandang umaga at maraming salamat. Thanks.